Hi guys. Today we are with Mr. Ten from Ten Finance, head of outstanding financial ecosystem, and we will discuss the lending itself as a part of crypto economy and crypto market, the Binance DeFi infrastructure, and a lot of interesting questions around all of that, based of his experience creating the land product for Ten Finance. Hello, Mr. Ten.
Hi, Aaron. Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening to everybody. Thank you for having me here today. It's my pleasure to be here with you to talk about crypto. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Let's first of all discuss the lending market itself, because the lending market was present since 2017. We know the salt or salt, whatever. We know a lot of other all crypto projects raised a lot of money, have a lot of attention, creating sometimes very big financial institutions out of that initiatives. So what's the dynamics of, let's say, lending part of crypto economy from your perspective, and how you come up with the product like yours?
All right. So I guess lending as a whole for crypto is one way of kind of attaching to the traditional financial systems, to traditional banking. And obviously crypto as a whole was created, Bitcoin in particular, as a hedge or as an anti-government money, central banks, whether it's the Bank of England, the Fed, whoever you want to name, and to kind of go side by side and allow people to similarly benefit from having certain assets in terms of crypto, whether it's Bitcoin or stable coins, Ethereum, or anything in general, is to allow for anybody to utilize those holdings to, and I don't want to use the word leverage, but to allow them to utilize those assets as collateral to borrow against, whether it's to speculate in the markets, or if they want to, hypothetically, if you bought Bitcoin in 2015, but you don't want to sell it, you just go borrow money against it. You pay the interest. And if you want to participate in a particular private sale or to purchase, let's say, I don't know, the new Elmas token that's coming out, you can borrow against your currency. So the idea, the first lending protocols, they were born out of the last bear market. Compound, Aave, those guys, they're the two largest ones out there, and nearly every lending protocol is a fork of either one of those two. It came out of necessity because there was a lot of people at the time that during the 2017, 18, and even previously from, 2011, 12 and onwards, that did have a lot of wealth in crypto, but there was no real outlets or no real way of using it in the real world. Crypto's come a long way over the last, maybe 12 years or so, that it's been in everybody's eyes. And it's gone from, what I used to call Mickey Mouse money, just given my background, coming from a Wall Street background, to being used in the dark web, to being the future of finance and money. How I grew up knowing and understanding the banking system is going to be completely different how my kids grow up and understand the banking system. So it's different. Technology is advancing. Lending is an essential part of the whole decentralized finance ecosystem. DeFi is definitely the future of money, how people are going to interact together, instead of having Goldman Sachs or Royal Bank of Scotland or Barclays being the liquidity provider to transactions. You and I will be the liquidity providers to, on the DEX. You and I are making the fees. How do you think Goldman Sachs and all those guys, make the fees on the trades? It's a spread everybody's taking. So this allows anybody anywhere in the world to become an LP. And at the same time, anybody in the world can actually become a lender. You can borrow and supply to the markets. And platforms such as Ten Finance and now Lend by Ten Finance allow you to do that. So that's pretty much a brief long overview. I don't know if it made sense, but
yes, well, it's quite deep, because it's very important. Before or the DeFi, you could experience, you could not, let's say, be part of one of the most efficient vehicle of overall financial ecosystem, because all of the commissions, all of the advanced licensing to be liquidity provider. So it's not about borrowing money; it's also ability, let's say, lend money through that type of vehicles, and actually use one of the most stable, let's say, funnel to invest money, because if you go in deep in all of that smart contracts, you will understand that they always lend less than they get from the borrower. That's the beauty of that type of projects. And yes, let's be honest, during the bear market, it's like ultimate moment for that type of solution. By the way, how long you are in crypto? How long is it? 10 years, 6 years, 5 years, 3 years?
No, so I was introduced to crypto originally back in 2011 by my brother, who is a gamer, but I did not get full-time into crypto until about 2015.
Wow.
And even in 2015, it wasn't the same as I am right now, because I was still transitioning from my previous career of, traditional markets, Wall Street, onto crypto. And, but over the last, since 2016, early parts, it's been 100% 24/7 crypto for me. So about 6 years, which feels like forever now, maybe feels like 100 years. I think everybody in crypto can relate to this.
Yes.
But yeah, as far as full-time into crypto, since I'd say early 2015-ish, I guess that's a good indication of how long I've been here.
Since 2016, so you
yeah, so just like me, it's taken us forever. It feels that way.
It feels like you're 1 decade older than me.
Yeah. Well, I probably am. I'll tell you that.
Yes.
People in the community always make fun of me because I think I'm probably older than everybody, or it feels that way.
But you have an experience. That experience bring you to the most stable part of any financial ecosystem, because that, let's say, traditional background give you overall perspective, and the traditional background helping you understand, let's say, centuries of financial market, and put and let's say, not eating the junk food of crypto, not eating all of that bullshit. Yes,
I think the one thing I've learned over the last 20 years is that people in traditional finance, whether you're a trader, investor, or whatever you are, we're always learning. And you can never be an expert enough to not learn. And the biggest key component of any investor, project founder, or anybody that is taking a leadership role in that perspective is psychology. I think you need to be mentally strong when it comes to the market volatility, for one, clearing out the noise, taking a few steps back and looking at the big picture. Because I think you can probably compare this to anything in life. Is there's too much noise that distracts everybody from the true goal and the results that we need to achieve, and that distracts a lot of people. There's too many distractions, and a lot of people do not know how to clear that. So kind of going back to experience wise, as long as we're able to learn from previous events and learn how to navigate through these turbulent waters, per se, will allow you to actually maintain longevity in this business in particular, or in any business in life. It doesn't have to be crypto.
Let's talk about very important component of let's say lending itself and crypto financial market. Let's talk about all of that devils from Davos, let's say initiatives like USDT or MUSDT by BIS, Bank of International Settlements. I will not go very deep to that topic, but
we can.
Thank you. But we have we have broad audience, so let's be understandable for the most of our viewers. But let's what's truly interesting is that we as a crypto community, as a crypto economy, still very attached to all of the fiat money. We're still let's say coordinating our, let's say, all of our processes with US dollar cost, and all of that inflation rates and everything around still, let's say, very affecting us. So could you give us the perspective, what will be next for the DeFi in terms of, let's say, all the problems we face as a traditional finance in the world? What's your view of the future and that type of advanced financial, let's say, instruments like we discuss right now with you?
Well, see, here's the thing, right? The global economy, as it stands right now, is essentially tethered, and the funny thing is, it's called USDT for tether. It's tethered, meaning the word tether means to be connected to the US dollar, right? The global economic reserves, or whatever it is. And I think just mentally utilizing the US dollar as a unit of measure for goods we pay and services, and until that changes to, let's say, people pricing things out in I don't know, whether it's a Satoshi or whatever token that people may utilize in the future, that's what it's going to be. And until then, we're going to be using a USDT or a BUSD or an XYZD, whatever it is, that is tied one to the dollar, right? Now, what happens if, let's say, the dollar goes through this crazy devaluation, right? And a new form of currency starts being utilized as the global reserves. It's a very good possibility. And not one single currency has done that throughout its history, right? There's cycles that we go through. And Ray Dalio recently, and coincidentally, it's like I used to talk about this to everyone, is every 200, 250 years, a new cycle appears, right? Where we go from using, I guess, different empires. And right now, according to him, is the US empire is coming to its sunset, right? Where it's kind of like towards its last legs. And central banks, as long as they're in control of the monetary supply, they're going to dictate what we're using as a unit of measure, how we're pricing things, and what we're using to pay. We can go into saying how the oil trade is the one that's leading this. Obviously, every single good or commodity traded is usually priced in US dollars, whether it's gold, silver, wheat, oil, especially. So until it kind of goes away from that and starts being priced in something else, and which the war in Ukraine is possibly perhaps as accelerating this. Now there's talks of China and Russia collaborating on a SWIFT type of system. Whether it's the Chinese yuan that may overtake, or maybe something else, or maybe a one world currency that all the big powers come up to be. I don't know. It could be called like a one coin, or actually no, that was a big scam, so I take it back. It could be like the world coin or whatever it is, right?
Yes.
So in due time it will change. I think digital currencies are what will happen as far as what will be considered a global reserve currency. I mean, it's a tough one, because as soon as the governments lose control of the money, and they'll lose control of the population, and um, you can't really have one without the other. Um, I think ideally Bitcoin could be that. We're seeing more and more countries adopt Bitcoin as a form of reserve, as we've seen with what's it called, El Salvador, and I think Central Africa. I think it was today. They said that Bitcoin is going to be like a reserve currency. I read something, just the headlines. I didn't read the entire thing, so I don't know. But many more will be doing that. Is that a reflection of bad, monetary policy, or is it just, time that the fiat currencies are going away, or is it going to be where asset-backed currencies come back into play, or a combination of both digital and asset-backed? Because I mean, the promise of a government to pay you back is just as good as me promising you, whatever it is, and it's a very complex situation, and we can probably talk for days on this. So
Yes. Regarding the Bitcoin, it's a beautiful vehicle, but facing all of that, let's say, new government's initiatives trying to suck as much power, as much control, and becoming tyrannical, even in some so-called
democratic states, yeah.
Yes, it's just outstanding. I'm actually looking at some projects based on Bitcoin. I'm not mentioned here. I will not mention here all of that. Just not to be. I don't want to create some sort of, let's say, promo. But the Bitcoin blockchain based solutions. We could mention one of them, but I'm not advertising the Monero. But some of them very interesting, because the money, the crypto should be untraceable. If it's traceable, it will be used against you. If we are facing, let's say, the governments losing their grip and trying to feed you with their, let's say, dying financial ecosystem.
Right, exactly.
So we need to be very agile, and it feels like the crypto community, with all our agility, our ability, let's say, in a matter of weeks or months, reverse engineer ourselves and come up with beautiful solutions, taking it on the market. It will help us significantly, and I'm totally agree that right now we could, let's say, do a lot of beautiful stuff with that solutions, but always creating, let's say, maintain that agility to be ready for the next bold move. By the way, let's discuss another very important topic. Let's simplify it: the Binance Smart Chain DeFi ecosystem. Could you, let's say, explain for our audience the reason to go to work with DeFi, Binance DeFi ecosystem, and what's the benefits of all of that for you, for your project?
Sure. So, obviously DeFi as a whole that everybody's been exposed to or knows of, it's literally maybe about a year and a half old. It's not, we're like, it feels it's like it's been forever for us that we've been in this space, but we just passed our 1 year anniversary for Ten Finance, and Binance Smart Chain itself has only been around since I believe it was September of 2020, right? So less than 2 years old. And lending protocols such as Aave and Compound have only been here about just a little over 2 years now. So it's all very new. Binance obviously initially had the name recognition of Binance, although they're separate entities to a certain extent. The ease of on ramping onto clients, the cheap transaction fees, obviously to deploy contracts onto, is a benefit to somebody living in a developing country where they don't want to pay, let's say, $20 in gas fees. For example, I sent some stable coins on Ethereum the other day, and it cost me about $23 or something, right? But if somebody's sending $50 of USDT, if I'm sending it to you and it's costing me $23, I mean, that doesn't make sense. But if you're on a different chain, whether it's Binance or anywhere else, Polygon, Avalanche, Phantom, it's pennies compared to what you'd be spending. So, I think it's a lot more for global adoption. I think it'll do a lot more. Ethereum is always going to be Ethereum. People can build on it and use it. Run EVM forks or whatnot. But from until that gas cost is drastically, and I mean drastically reduced, other side chains and EVM forks will be key. We've got a very good relationship with the Binance team. I should say the Binance Smart Chain team. With regards to their support for our platform, we've made very good relationships with most of the projects on there. A lot of projects that we launched with are no longer actually there, which is kind of the state of how DeFi is, and it goes back to what we discussed earlier about longevity and maintaining that sustainability to outlast the competition. And when we first started, there was about 100 people within our field. Now there's less than 5, like maybe 5, 6, 7 at that. So I think DeFi has gone through a little bit of narrative changes, right? It was the DeFi summer that started a bull market and just kind of led into the different narratives. And now I think we're going to go back to DeFi now that the bull market is here, because it will allow people to actually start earning passive income that will allow them to, I guess, I don't want to use this word, but survive the bear market, which is going to be essential for a lot of people, because it will be the first time that a lot of crypto investors in particular are going through such an event. And, it's our job as a protocol to, educate people on how to properly navigate through these waters. We're not giving anybody financial advice, but we need to tell people or let people know how to manage their risk and how to properly position themselves in a way where they can benefit and be able to witness the next bull run. Because there was a lot of people that left during the last bear market that wished that they didn't, because had they stayed, they would have, been, I guess, they would have had financial freedom right now.
Yes, we still have a lot of opportunities, let's say, to create the wealth even during the bear market. So the bear market is not like end of story.
No, not at all.
We are, as a team, we're not thinking that the bear market will be for the next, let's say, years. It will, from let's say our perspective, we are thinking it will be during the next couple months or something like that. It's our expectations, but we have a lot of advisors and a lot of let's say brilliant minds around us and big traders. Already 10 years on that market, and having that opinion that it's not like it will not last forever. It will not be so long, but still, it doesn't matter. You need to learn how to apply the most advanced instruments properly to be successful, no matter what, on every market. And there are also lending protocols. It's one of the possibility to be successful during that times, and one of the simplest step to, let's say, educate yourself and make the steps towards financial stability during even so-called hard times. But I'm willing to also discuss some small things regarding the Binance financial ecosystem, because a lot of people thinking that the Binance is heavily centralized. Yes, it's heavily centralized, but the Binance Smart Chain, not so. We still have, let's say, anonymous cross-chain swaps, like TorChain TorSwap. I'm just going to mention one of that, because you could play and make money absolutely anonymous on that market, and get back to any other blockchain with your gains. So Binance itself very centralized and working closely with the governments. It's somehow good for the future of that project. I mean, because they're very, very transparent, but not everybody willing to be transparent. But you could be part of that success of Binance Smart Chain, still protecting your privacy, still protecting your identity, and making your own decision how you spend your gains and what you will do. That's a very important component of Binance Smart Chain as a project, somehow attached to the Binance tax infrastructure, getting all of the success related to millions and millions of users of Binance centralized exchange, but still being truly and fully decentralized in a manner of privacy. I'm still not completely confident regarding all of that nodes. I'm not completely confident how actually decentralized, let's say, the process of mining on that chain, but still we have some sort of very important components people should know about it.
So obviously, Binance Smart Chain has 21 delegated validators, right? And I don't know what the process. I haven't really looked into it, but they reach a consensus to validate all the blocks, which is similar to what proof of stake for Ethereum could be, right? Now, proof of stake is based on the number of Ethereum tokens you may have, and the way it works is, I'll give you an example. There's ETH pools right now that will take everybody's Ethereum, and if you have enough, Ethereum tokens, then you become a validator, and you can actually have a bigger say in validating blocks. Now, hypothetically, if we create an ETH pool and we have everybody depositing into our pool and we have the voting powers, does that not make us centralized then? If, let's say, Ten Finance becomes an ETH pool, right, or whatever it is, we call it 10 stake for Ethereum, everybody deposits into our pool, then we go become a validator for Ethereum when they go proof of stake. Then essentially, what if, imagine one day we have 52% or 51% of all the Ethereum staked through our platform because I'm giving them, let's say, XYZ incentives. People would just come to us, right? Because right now you need, I believe it was 31 Ethereum or 30 Ethereum to become a validator, or to become a validator for Ethereum. So imagine those guys that have, let's say, half an Ethereum or 0.1 ETH or whatever it is, and I say, hey, let's go stake into the Elmas ETH pool, right? And everybody comes in there because you're saying, hey, if I'm getting 10% a year, out of this 10%, our protocol is only going to take, let's say, I don't know, a 0.5%. I'm giving the back rest to the people. everybody will come to you. I can guarantee you that, right? So what happens is then it becomes a centralized entity because you as a whole, right, as one particular entity becomes centralized. So the way, let's say BNB chain or maybe some of the other ones that may be similar to this is they achieve this is like they have predetermined, validators who they are. Everybody has the same percentage of influence, technically, in terms of validating the blocks, and their job is to simply validate the blocks. They can't change the blockchain. They can't, cancel transactions or whatever it may be. Although there has been, I think it was EOS, which I don't even know if they're still around or not, but yes. They used to have people canceling transactions, or validate like unvalidated blocks, which is kind of the complete opposite of decentralized. So and that's the thing, right? So people always connect Binance Smart Chain with Binance as a centralized entity, but they're completely not the same. In terms of it's run by different teams, they have nothing to do with each other. They just share the name, and it was born from that. Like even their stable coin, the BUSD is a white label of PAX Global, PAX, out of I believe they're out of New York, and they're one other than I think USDC. They're the other one that's fully audited with regards to their assets backing the currency. So they're completely separate. Their name allowed them to achieve a lot quicker adoption or rate of adoption compared to maybe some other EVM forks that there may or may not be around still. But there's also different alternatives right now as well. There's Phantom Avalanche. There's a new chain coming out, Cube. I'm sorry.
Harmony.
Yeah, Harmony is there. Although I'm not too sure on how quickly they're adopting. But at one point they did have a lot of transactions, and there's a lot of layer 2 solutions coming as well. And there's also projects that have yet to launch that will be launching. But I think the future is also going to be interoperable, where all the blockchains will speak to each other, and it'll be easier for us to basically go from one chain to another chain, which is something that we've been working on ourselves in creating a multi-chain DEX aggregator. Wow. Where you can go from Binance chain to Ethereum, from Ethereum to Polygon, from Polygon to, I don't know, the Phantom or whatever it is. Basically any EVM based chain you can simply cross into. Like if you have, let's say, I don't know, what token do we choose? I don't know, choose a token, whatever, XYZ token on Ethereum, you can take it to Binance or Avalanche or whatever, vice versa. And I think that's going to be the future. I think there may already be some other solutions in the works of that, but we're working on something like that as well. Interchain or multi-chain lending, where you have assets, let's say on Ethereum, you bring it over to Binance, and Binance to Ethereum, and you're able to use it as collateral. Whereas right now that's not possible, right? So you have to go and bridge it over, where everything we need to simplify for the user, right? It's like driving a car. I don't know how my car works. I just know to sit in, turn the car on, and then you just drive.
Yes.
So that's where
for mass adoption, very important. That's
exactly. So that is when we know we're at the next stage, is where people are just using a product without really trying to understand how it works. It just works because it does. And I think DeFi right now is a quite difficult process for many to understand, and lending as well. So that's going to be our job as a protocol to continuously provide educational content and how to, and just ways of, steps on, okay, this is what you do first, obviously understanding the risks, that are involved. Then that's security is one thing that we take, very seriously. And, obviously we had our protocol audited prior to launch.
Who's your auditor?
Peck Shield. No, we have 2 CertiK audits and we have 2 Peck Shield audits. Okay. So our last 2 audits were Peck Shield. And Yeah, Pexhill, I think they're probably one of the top premier auditors, and they've been able to, they've done a fairly good job, within the industry, and pointing out exploits with regards to certain protocols, and we felt comfortable in using them, for our security. But that's the thing, right? So security is key, and user adoption, and making it easier for them, right? If it's not easy, people don't want to use it. The same reason why people left Blackberries for iPhones, right? Blackberry said, hey, use me because I'm a BlackBerry, and we're good with our users, but they lost all their, users to the iPhone and the Android.
Because of user experience, because of the interfaces, because
100%.
Yes, so the most important components of the DeFi infrastructure and success of the projects like yours is security, and also honesty, and also user experience. The user experience is a king for mass adoption, and we need to, let's say, simplify all of that. We have so many beautiful instruments right now, but some of them just unimaginably complex for the general public, and some of the big guys could squeeze the success out of nowhere, and others will just facing the bear market and looking for that opportunities, not knowing how to actually manage all of that, how actually take a grip. But from the perspective of the let's say protocols like yours, it doesn't matter who is playing on that market, couple whales or let's say millions of small caps investors, because for you it doesn't matter. It just you need people to actually to use your protocol, to use your solution, and you're not Goldman Sachs. You're not, let's say, playing with the biggest devils and not willing others to be part of your small party. You are willing to, let's say, be open, and that's the story, and that's what you actually it feels like that's what you do.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as a DeFi protocol, and the whole ethos of the DeFi protocol being open to everybody. And, it's not just a closed loop of, certain types of investors can come in. It's like I always try to compare this to the rules of going to a casino, right? If you walk into a casino, they will never ask you how much money you have in your account. All they care about is the money you're putting into the house, right? You go bet on, put all your money into a blackjack, fine. You have $0, you're borrowing it from the credit card. They don't care. Does the government ask you any questions? They do not. Does the casino ask you any questions? They do not. But as an investor, if I want to make a calculated risk on my money to invest into a crypto project, the SEC and whoever regulators come and say, no, sir, are you an accredited investor? Do you have this much money in your account? Do you know you can lose all your money? It's like, well, yeah, no, you know what? I can do the same thing in the casino, but you don't ask me about that. So they just say, how old are you? Oh, 21 and over? Go right ahead. Some places you need to be 18 to gamble your money. So, that's the thing, with regards to kind of talking about the whole Goldman Sachs thing, right? It's like, hey, you have $10 million in your account, you can come out in. My clients, when I used to manage money, was, you needed to have $10 million or more, as an eligible contract participant, which is an ECP, for me to manage your money, right? And if I took clients that had less money, then you had to go through all these other regulations or rules to be able to take that guy. Why do they make it so difficult for the average guy, for the regular guy, to go and invest their money? Why?
They think they put a label like stupid if you don't have 10 million.
Honestly, it's very discriminatory.
From their perspective, you're kind of loser.
I know a lot of
you're not smart enough to.
I know a lot of smart people. I know a lot of smart people that don't have as much wealth as some very stupid people that, and I don't try to judge anybody, but from an intellectual perspective, when you hold a conversation with someone, there's some people that you're like, how did this guy get to the level he's at? And then there's some people that are the smartest people in the world that are just, not great with money. It's different.
Yes. And
So
I like the idea of transparency of crypto industry, because all of our instruments could be, let's say, reverse engineered, and it could be, explained and checked
yeah,
by
100%. Everything
uh,
is on the blockchain. You can't hide anything.
yes, and that's the true beauty of
And
our
then, but
platform.
governments, everybody's like, oh, this is crypto. You can hide. Trust me, you cannot hide anything on the blockchain. Everything is public for everybody to see. And I think, a lot of these things goes back to the regulations and the lobbyists, right? If how do these government agencies, or how are they able to get funding from the government, right? And if the government can't regulate certain things and they don't get the funding, well, what happens? So the issue here is, it's like I find it troubling that they'll go to the lengths of, hey, the casino and the lobbyists, they'll pay these government agencies all the money. Hey, go do whatever, let these guys invest. But in order for me to invest into a certain type of a project or a certain type of investment vehicle, I need to have certain type of requirements. Why? I just don't understand. If somebody can, if a politician can explain to me why they make these rules, then I'll completely understand, right? And but they can't.
They actually can. It's easy because they are lobbying
How? Tell
for
me.
their own interests. It's like it's the if on to be.
Well, we know that, but they're not going to
Yes.
admit to that.
Yes, I'm coming from very small country like Latvia. It's still European Union, and one of the biggest losers from our country. I mean, the prime minister who lose a lot of things during his days as a prime minister in Latvia. Right now, leading the European Union, leading the financial wing of European Commission. So one of the biggest loser of my country from right now leading the whole European Union and financial wing of European Union, like European Commission. Fuck. It's easy to understand all of the products. I will not disclose it right now because if you have a country like one with 1 million of people, you know everybody and you know everything about everybody.
It's like he's my cousin's cousin's friend. I know him.
It just one hand. If you are active, financially active, and you're doing something, it's just no more than one handshake between anyone also active in the business world in that country, and that's the story. They are not smart enough, not have their own interests, and that's why they're trying to stop something that could, let's say, remove them from all of the from their parties. So that's the easy stuff. And yes, I'm still thinking a lot about all of that untraceable money, untraceable taxes, but it feels like it's not a part of our conversation for today, but still it feels like during the next years we will look very precisely at other options, and it feels like you, with your, let's say, blockchain agnostic perspective, could be part of let's say bold steps towards decentralization of the most important financial instruments like lending, because let's say, looking from the investor's perspective, lending is one of the most stable and the most convenient, simple, and solid way to invest your money. I'm not kidding. It's like math. It's plus 2 plus 2. That's the story. And I'm actually willing. I'm not trying, let's say, to push my Elmas token or push them to, let's say, thinking about the land component and the land product of Ten Finance. I'm actually willing people to educate themselves about the lending and ability to invest in lending. It's let's say thousands of years of success behind that type of instruments. It's just the nature of money. So if you are still making money, the lending, one of the most simple and convenient way to let's say multiply your assets. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for that brilliant conversation. Thank you so much to explaining a lot of things regarding, let's say, financial infrastructure and DeFi. I hope to see you again, maybe during the next months after during the bull run. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And, bull run or bear market, we're going to be here, and would love to come back on your channel to discuss again. And once you guys are fully launched, and discuss, further cooperation between our two platforms. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Yes, we're actually thinking that your DEX could help us a lot. Thank you.
Absolutely.